DFS Prodigy coming to you live with Huntman DFS and Daily Fantasy Talk Show. So we're breaking down the John Deere PGA Classic, which obviously, as you can tell, this is one of the worst kind of tournaments that we had to break down, but we're going to get through it. We were obviously kind of in the wilderness beforehand with our video. We had technical difficulties trying to get it out of there, which I'll post that on Twitter. Don't y'all worry. Everybody will see what we're going through. So, but this is the John Deere Classic. How do y'all feel about this course, man, and how do y'all feel about this tournament overall?
Go ahead, Ricky. How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Cody said, it's probably the weakest field we've seen since the restart, which was almost a year ago. So it's pretty rough. Daniel Berger is our top guy here, which is not a good sign. I think he's 25th in the world or lower. So pretty rough field here. But that's why you need us. We're here to help you out, finding those right plays. Course is par 71, 7,100 yards. So you don't need to hit it long here. It's going to be an interesting week. A lot of elevation changes have been what I'm hearing about this course. So the guys that don't hit it as hard are actually going to be a little bit better to play, because if they miss, they won't miss by as much. But it'll be an interesting week, interesting field. What do you think, Hunter?
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely a weaker field. It kind of reminds me, I don't remember the tournament, but there was a tournament last year where Brendan Todd was the top price golfer.
Oh my God.
Like 11-2 or something. So yeah, that just shows you it could be worse, of course. So you said, kind of a shorter course, really going to be looking at driving accuracy over driving distance compared to last week, where it was kind of more of a driving range, I guess you could call it. Par 71, 7,100 yards. It's bent grass greens. Typical PGA rules with, I think it's a field of 156 and top 65 make the cut. Just some basic stats I'll be looking at this week. Of course, shots gained approach, putting will be a big one, and it'll kind of turn into a putting contest, kind of like last week. Birdie or better percentage is big. We're definitely looking for birdie makers this week. And shots gained from about 125. I bumped that up to 175 too. Really within that range there, I think it's going to be big. Approach is going to be big. Putting, of course, ball striking, all of your basic stats are really going to be highlighted this week. So what are you feeling about this tournament, or this, just the course in general, Cody? What are your thoughts going into this weekend?
Well, if you look at it like with the Scottish Open coming up, and you have Justin Thomas, Morikawa, John Rahm in that field, and then when you go to the John Deere Classic and you see Daniel Berger, that should tell you how I'm feeling about this week already. So, I mean, this is going to be, again, an interesting field. We really got to find where the variance is going to be because of where the pricing is, like with Brian Harman, Sungjae Im, Cameron Davis, Daniel Berger. We're really going to dig deep for who we want to fit in that 7K to 8K range. But y'all kind of hit on the spot how this course is. The defending champ is Fratelli, which we'll get to him when we go to that price range in the sevens. So, but starting off with the 12,000 to 10,000, what do you think of this range, Hunter, starting off?
Yeah, so we got a few golfers in here. Daniel Berger is going to be our top price golfer, of course. Ricky said it before the call here. I think he's probably the best, golfer in the field. I'd probably argue that Sungjae is a little bit closer than the salary would tend to lead you to believe there. But Daniel Berger, definitely one of the better golfers here. I wonder what his ownership will come in. A lot of people got burnt with Bryson, including myself, you too, Ricky, last week. And he was the top price golfer too. So I wonder if people will just kind of have that, that same feeling from last week and try to avoid him there. It's not like he's Bryson or JT or anything too, but he's definitely going to be a solid option, of course. I'm going to be looking at Sungjae Im quite a bit, especially for GPPs. Like I said, I just think he's, in my opinion, one of the best golfers in this field. We could argue Berger over Sungjae, but I just think he is really coming into form. His iron game is really, shaping up to be what it was last year before the COVID break. And we all know kind of what he's playing for next month with the Olympics and stuff. He's not focusing on the Open next week. So, I think he's really just trying to get that game, ready as possible and, prepare for the Olympics. So Sungjae Im is probably going to be one of my favorite plays up top there. We got a couple other top price golfers here. Ricky, what are you thinking about this 10K range?
Yeah, I'm glad we touched on Sungjae, because obviously his mind is going to be somewhere else, obviously, because he's playing to literally stay a professional golfer. next month. So that's quite
Yeah.
scary. And I think the only thing I would have to say about Sungjae is if he's taking this week as a tune-up, I don't know if I want to play him in a tournament. Just because I think there's just so many places you can go this week, and just personally, I probably won't go there. I can see the exact reason why you would, because his approach game has turned around, just like you said. He was losing approach. I think he's gained in the last 3 or 4 events or something like that. So it's good to see that turnaround. I'm just worried about that, obviously, mental state. A lot of people are talking about Brian Harmon this week. I was hot on him when the week started, but I'm actually starting to cool on him because seeing his price is 10-4, I think, on DK, something like that. Most weeks, Brian Harmon, all you need is a T20, T25. This week, you're going to need a T5 or better. So if you're going to ask me, do I think Brian Harmon is going to top 5 in this tournament? I would say he could, but I don't think I'd say confident enough to play a lot of them in DFS. So I'm actually cooling more on Brian Harmon than most of the public. He's probably going to be 20% owned in GPPs. So I think that's a good place to get different and go down to a guy like Russell Henley, who has proven course history here. His approach game has been obviously the best part of his game. His driving won't hurt him here. And he came second place last time this event was played in 2019. So I think he's a really good pivot in that 10K range. What are your thoughts, Cody?
So Daniel Berger at 11-1, that gives you 7,700 left over to play around with, which I don't mind that. But at the same time, if I can go to a salary saver and kind of skip over this 10K range, I would not blame you one bit. So in GPPs, like you said, you're going to have to be different. So in my way of being different, I would not mind fading all 4 of these guys up here, and Cameron Davis, Harmon, and Berger, just to be different because of how this course is. You don't have a Justin Thomas, Morikawa, like I was saying beforehand, up top where you're really going to have to make a choice, and you have elite golfers up there. So these guys aren't elite. I mean, they're professional golfers, yes, but looking at the difference between what we have in the Euro Tour now compared to now with the John Deere, that should tell you how it's different. But like you said, Sungjae M, I'm worried about the mentality. He's only going to play before going into that whole situation with him. I don't really want to get a piece of him at 10-7. I wouldn't mind it just to be different. Again, with the ownership play, Daniel Berger, where I'm kind of making my stance where I'm fading him completely. But Cameron Davis, I wonder where his mindset's going to be at coming off that huge win, because we saw him literally crying his eyes out because he won. So again, we don't know what we're going to get out of Cameron Davis. And then Brian Harmon at 10-4, that's a name that we never really see up here. But again, the course history fits him well, and he's been on fire recently. And I don't think that's going unnoticed at all, especially for me. I don't mind that. So at 10-4, I don't mind Brian Harmon if I wanted to get to somebody up here. Sungjae M would be my close second, then Berger, then Davis. But you made a good point dropping down to this 9K range where I really like some of these guys in the 9K range much more than I do with the 10K range. So starting off, what do you think of this 9K range, Hunter?
Yeah, Ricky brought him up. I do like Henley a lot in this position this week. He finished second here in 2019, I believe. He's also top 5 in shots gained in approach. He's just been playing a lot better ever since, the U.S. Open a couple weeks ago. So I was all over Henley last year. Even in this year, it kind of burnt me a couple times when he wasn't playing as well. But I'm really happy to go back to him. I'd love to see him finish in the top 5 here. Henley's going to be a big one. I think Kevin Streelman, we've been talking about him a lot. We're really interested to see where his ownership is going to lie. He's another guy who's been playing really well this season, ever since the U.S. Open as well, too. I think he's going to be a solid play here. We'll talk about power a little bit. I'll kind of let you guys go into him a little bit more, but definitely some good options in this 9K range. Siwoo Kim is one that I'll kind of talk about a little bit. Very similar to Sungjae. He's going to have to worry about the Olympics coming up here soon. He really hasn't been playing well, so it's hard for me to make a great case for him, but he just plays well on shorter courses. He's a great approach player. He's got to run that, he's going to come back into form eventually, and he's a guy that I'd like to be a little bit early on. Something that does worry me a little bit about him is, when he gets into contention on the week, or when he's in the weekend, but he's not really close to the top, he doesn't always try his hardest to get back up there. He doesn't really care about the 40th if he's not in that top 10. So Siwoo Kim probably going to be a dart throw for me. I'm really surprised at his price compared to guys like Aaron Wise, for example, or Alex Noren, who are normally in the 7K range, and Siwoo's always priced above them. So I'll look to try and add a little bit of Siwoo into my lines this week. I have really don't have a great reason because they've been playing well. I just want to be early on him rather than late. So any other names that kind of pop out in this range? I'll let you kind of talk about Streelman, Ricky there, but anyone else that kind of, pops up for you?
Yeah, I guess you're just playing all the Olympians this week.
Yeah, I might be.
Yeah, but like you said, Sherman was my first click this week. Right as I saw he was in the field, I was like, all right, as long as he's not in the 10K range, I'll be getting a bunch of him. And turns out 9-7, so perfect. As far as ownership goes, I'm not really worried about that as much, just because I can get different down below. When you're trying to get different in the GPP, you want to be different in the right places. A guy like Stroman really fits this course nicely, and I think he should have a great week here. And I'm not going to fade him just because he's like 25% owned or anything. But if there was obviously like a guy in the 7K range that was like 15, that's where, okay, I'm going to get different. So like up top, it's really important for all viewers to know, like, it doesn't, you don't want to dictate your lineups just based on ownership. If you're making 20 lineups, obviously then you can, play around with it a little bit more. But if you're like playing one lineup in the week and, you really like a guy up top, play him. Don't worry about the ownership as much, because some people just try to get way too different. I'm guilty of it sometimes as well. So make sure you're playing the guys that you feel confident in. Going back to that 9K range, really like Seamus Power here. Driving accuracy is really good with him. His ball striking has been fantastic. He's been playing like a PGA Tour player, and he was a Korn Ferry guy. So really impressed with how he's playing. Don't get scared off. I think DK has his cut line, or his cuts made at like 7 out of 17, which I didn't know he was actually that bad before then. But he's been playing fantastic. No reason to go away from him here. Then we touched a little bit on Aaron Wise. I always like Aaron Wise. Just his putting's so volatile that I'm okay with it, because that's where he sucks. His ball striking's been great. I looked at his putting I think Travelers was the last time he played. He either lost strokes or gained a lot of strokes. It wasn't like he was consistently bad. He just either lost a lot or gained a lot. So I'm okay with that. And I think the most strokes he lost was on Sunday, which if you're there on Sunday, I'm cool with that. So I'm a little bit higher on Wise than I think most people will be this week, just because they're going to be like, Aaron Wise, 9.3K, no thanks. So that's probably where I'll get different up top. What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, I was literally about to talk about him. I was going to ask you also no love for Aaron Wise because I'm all in on him. I mean, he's been on my radar. The off the tee game's there, the ball striking's there. It's just that putting, obviously. But look at this. Look at the rest of the guys around him. I mean, it's obviously everybody's going to have an issue with something in the game, with Siwoo Kim, with possibly Kevin Na. I mean, I like Strillman, like you said, first click bait. I love him here. I don't really mind Russell Henley. But what do y'all think of Alex Noren? I know nobody talked about him.
He's another birdie maker. Everyone's been talking about it this week, how he was, in first on Sunday last week, and then he got on the 18th green there, and he just kind of felt that pressure right away. So it will be interesting to me to see how he plays this weekend. Like I said, he's definitely a birdie maker, and that's what we're going to need this week. I just think there's better options here, like Streelman or Siwoo Kim. Again, I could be dead wrong on Siwoo, but these price ranges are tough. I guess I should say this too. I mean, we can't judge these guys really on their price range because this field is just so bad. If there were better players in the field, obviously, they wouldn't be priced as high. But that said, that doesn't mean you should be playing a 9,500 Kevin Na or top price guys that normally aren't here. So I think a lot of DFS players are feeling the same struggle this week on how do I bite the bullet and play someone who's normally $2,000 cheaper. So I agree with you guys.
Yeah, I really like you said, Power is on my radar easily. The ball striking again is there for him. He's been great. I mean, I think everything's kind of coming together for him. Like you brought it up, that basically the 9 out of 18 cuts isn't really what is being shown right now because he's been on fire recently. So again, Aaron Wise, I don't mind Streelman. I like Henley. I like Power. Those are the guys I would be kind of looking around. But then pivoting down all the way to this AK range, this is where we're going to have to really get fishy with our lineups. What do you think of the AK range, Ricky?
Just first, whoever priced Kevin Knott 9,500 really needs to reevaluate their life, because I thought maybe it was recent form, maybe it was course. There's nothing there. So whoever plays Kevin Knott, if he wins the event and you played him, that's just showing that time travel exists. So getting to this 8K range, I really like Matt McNeely. He's been playing really well. He putts well. He plays easy courses really well, so I don't mind him. I think Seamus Power is going to be popular, so if you want to pivot down to McNeely, I don't mind that at all. Troy Merritt coming off a disappointing loss last week, but still played very well. Another accurate driver, not hitting it as far, but distance not going to kill you here. So the only thing I would worry about is the mental state of him right now, because obviously he just went through a 5-hole playoff and lost.
Yeah.
So be careful on him, but I do like him as a course fit. And then Hank Lebioda, probably the last week I'll be playing Big Man Hank. He came T5 last week, I think it was. Putts really well, just does really good stuff. So I don't want to take up too much of this 8K range. So Hunter, who else you liking in here?
You're good. I like McNeely as well. I learned this week his dad is like a billionaire, so he clearly doesn't need this for the money. He's just obviously trying to prove that he's a good golfer. So, if you care about the mental side of the game here, he could be a solid option, and he has some solid course history as well. So yeah, Matt McNeely I do like a lot. I do like Hank Lebioda as well. If you pull up his box score, I'm sure all the box score nerds are going to love that. He's 4th and 5th in his last 2 events. But he also ranks really high in ball striking and good drives in general. So I think this is going to be a week where your approach shot is going to be big, and you're going to have to set that up really well by being in the fairway too. So very unlike last week where there was a lot of straight holes where you didn't really matter where you went off the tee. I do think being in the fairway and setting up that that birdie putt is going to be really important. So having a good drive, being accurate off the tee is going to be big for me this week. So Lebioda as well. Johnny Vegas is kind of popping up for me a little bit. He's been playing much better. If you look at his long-term stats, he actually is kind of a ball striker. He actually hits it far, but recently he's actually becoming more of an approach game player. He's been playing really well since the U.S. Open. I think he's going to be a little bit overlooked here. I know he's not really the most popular player in this range. I will be going back to Doc Redman a little bit just because I think he's going to come at an ownership discount, and he actually has some good course history as well. He's good off the tee, just kind of depends on if he can putt or not, and I think a lot of people got burnt by him last week and won't look to play him. And Doug Gim, I think it's the Gim Reaper week this week. He's been playing pretty well recently as well. He comes in at 8K. I think he's going to be a solid option. I'm really looking to be more balanced this week. We talked about it before. I don't really like a lot of the 6K range players, and I'm not looking to have a huge amount of exposure to them either. So a lot of my lineups will be built in this 8K, the 7K range, which we'll talk about here soon. Cody, anyone else that kind of pops into your head here in the 8K range?
I'm really liking Lucas Glover. I think his recent form is there. I think he's a good sleeper here at 8-6. I don't mind him at all. Like you said, Zach Johnson, I think, is going to be an all right option. Obviously, he's made the cut here plenty of times. It's just the ownership is going to be there. Kazire is so up and down. I don't trust him whatsoever. If we're looking at Lebioda, I agree with y'all completely on him. I don't mind Doc Redman at 8-2. What do y'all think about Sebastian Munoz, though, at 8-1? He's kind of on my radar also.
Yeah, another birdie maker. He's been playing really well recently. He blew up on Sunday last week. I think he was like 4 or 5 over. Otherwise, he would have finished at 13 under or so with how he was playing. So I might have to consider my player pool. I do like Munoz a lot. I just like playing him. What do you think, Ricky?
Yeah, I like Munoz too. There's just a lot of options in this 8K range, I think. And I think it's going to spread out the ownership, which is nice. So, you find the guy that you like. I think Lebioda will probably take a lot of the ownership in this range. But otherwise, I think it's going to be pretty spread out. Maybe a lot of people on Merritt just because of his performance last week. But yeah, I think a lot of the ownership will be nice and spread out here. You can just pick and choose who you want.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then dropping down to the 7K range, this is where a lot of guys are going to have to make the choices on who we want and who we don't want. But kind of up top in this 7,500 range of and above, Kyle Stanley, I like him a ton. I think it's a great pivot from possibly Doug Gibb or Johnny Vegas. I don't mind. I mean, there's Dylan Fratelli, but again, his recent forms is not there. But he's going to be the ownership is going to be there because of the defending champ, obviously. But just how the way he's playing right now it's a no-go for me. Pat Perez, I mean, look at what he's been doing recently. I love him here. And then I wouldn't mind taking a start at Steve Stricker. I like him up here. Straka, I don't mind. I mean, there's a lot of guys up here I really like. EV3, which keep in mind he's out of this tournament, which it's official. Don't worry. I've already checked it like some people have. What happened last week with a couple guys here and there. I know. Yeah. So he's officially out.
Through and they actually didn't. That would be stupid.
He's officially out. So don't worry. That's actually officially like sure out. So, but again, there's a lot of guys 75 and K up that I like a ton. What do you think, Ricky, up here?
Yeah. Stanley is probably my value lock of the week, if you want to call him a value at 7,900. His ball striking has just been fantastic. He's a popper. You know, he'll be T5, and you'll be like, whoa, where did Kyle Stanley come from? It just all depends on that flat stick. If he can sink enough putts this week, or at least put it 2 feet to the hole, so that way we don't have to worry about it. I think he can get up there in terms of birdies. He's at a price range where, all you need really is a T30. And I think he's definitely capable of that. So I really like Kyle Stanley here. Bo Hostler has actually been a really good recent form and definitely can putt the ball well. So I think he's a guy that fits this really well. He was kind of a guy that's kind of forgotten about because he was an up-and-comer a while ago. And he just never really got up there. So we'll see how he does this week. And like I said, his recent form's great. But my favorite outside of Stanley down here is definitely Kramer Hickok. Last week made the cut after that 8-hole playoff with Harris English at the Travelers. He's just in great recent form. The fact that he made the cut last week was just really surprising to me after all that. So I think now he's starting to wind it back down. He'll get right back to what he was doing. Driving accuracy is great. I think he's a guy who I believe he's a good putter. I can't remember exactly, but he's just playing in a really good form right now. So I really like him a lot. And then Ches Reavie, another accurate driver, birdie maker. Probably not going to have as high ownership as his surrounding crowd here, just because Ches Reavie doesn't really pop as much. But he certainly has the ability to make those birdies. What do you think, Hunter?
Yeah, we actually agree on a lot of these guys, which is awesome. Kyle Stanley, yeah, I think that's one of the first one where we all three really like him. He's made 7 of the last 8 cuts. He can pop off, like you said. He just needs to putt. I think this whole tournament's going to come down to your approach shot and obviously turn into a putting contest as well. So, you saw it with Bryson last week. If you're not getting that approach shot within 20 feet, you're going to have a tough time making birdies and competing this weekend. So Kyle Stanley, obviously, like I said, going to be a big one for me. Kramer Hickok as well. You already touched on him. Steve Stricker, another one. He's got great course history. I think he's the last three-peat champion of a tournament, I believe, since Tiger. So, yeah, Steve Stricker, Bo Hostler as well. You guys kind of hit on all my top guys here at the top. Pat Perez, he's been talked about a lot this week. I want to say he gained over 5 strokes putting last weekend, which is not going to happen. And he only finished 14th as well. So that's not going to happen every weekend. I think he's going to come in really chalky. Right now, he's a fade for me because I just like some of these other names here. And like I said, I don't trust that putting over the long term. Sepp Straka, if you were on him last week like I was, you will probably love the ownership discount that you'll get on him this week. Currently don't have him in my player pool, but just kind of wanted to throw that out there. I do think he's another birdie maker, and he tends to pop too. So, on these kind of tournaments where the field is weak, a lot of you guys, I would recommend trying, to get a little risky, or maybe don't spend as much, but, do a 20 entry max and just do the quarter contest, for example, and try a new strategy, for example. This is the perfect week to do it. I mean, we're likely not going to win big anyways on this kind of week, so you might as well try a different strategy. Obviously, that's the goal, but on weeks like this where you're already feeling kind of nervous about it, just try different strategies, try to get a little bit risky. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Thanks. Thank you.
So kind of dropping down to that lower 7.5 range. I mean, we're hitting it right on the spot with the 7,400 guy. I like Mitchell here. I mean, he's a top 10 history here. I don't mind him at all at 7-4. Patrick Rogers is not a fancy name to say, but again, he's been consistent, has actually looked good. So I think the course history here fits him well. And then that's when we kind of go down to the deep end with all the rest of the guys. There's not really much I want in the lower the 7K range unless y'all have anybody y'all like. I'm going to kind of leave it up in that 7.5, 7.4 range and
Say it,
go
Ricky.
up from there. What do you think?
Say his
Yeah,
name.
who do you want? I know you want him.
Henrik Norlander and Satoshi Kodaira.
Yep.
Give
There
me
we
all
go.
of that.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I like both of them. Obviously not as much as I just gestured, but Kodaira's been popping up quite a bit. For me personally, his approach game's been good. Obviously, he burned everyone last week after being 6 under, going into Friday in the final 9 holes, and just had like the worst back 9 that he's had in his career. I don't see that happening again, and I think because he burned a lot of people last week, even though he's been popping up for a lot of people I've seen, I think he's going to be lower owned than what the public's thinking, because everyone's going to just be so mad at him from last week. Because how do you go from 6 under to 1 under? I don't know. But I really like him here. I think he's got the perfect game for here. As long as he keeps his mental state, forgets that back 9, just moves on to this week, he should be fine. Another name that popped up for me was Ryan Armour. Good approach game, kind of the guy that went out, like I was talking about in the beginning, doesn't hit it very hard. So if he misses, he's not going to miss as bad as, a guy like a Bryson would or something like that. So I don't mind him here. He can make the birdies when he's rolling the rock. So Armour probably like the lower owned pivot down here if you want to get different from Kodaira. But those are the only real names that I'm interested in. What do you think, Hunter?
Yeah, when I think of, straight and short off the tee, I think of Ryan Armour. So, in these Midwest tournaments that we've had these last couple of weeks here, Ryan Armour is a name that we'll see a lot. Satoshi Kodaira. I have a feeling we will likely not play these names again for quite a while, but, their stats just fit this course. Kodaira is, I think top 10 in driving accuracy and also in proximity from, that range I was talking about, 125 to about 175-ish. So he just, again, his stats really pop up well. I think he will make the cut. Probably not be in contention, but, at 7K really allows you to open up that, that lineup up quite a bit. So yeah, Kodaira is going to be one. I do like Norlander as well. He's a guy that can just pop. He'll either miss the cut, kind of like, a couple of these guys that we'll talk about in the 6K range. He'll either miss the cut or he'll, be up there in the weekend. So yeah, I have no issues with those guys. Norlander and Kodaira are a couple of lower 7K range guys I like. Anyone else that you'd like to throw out there, Cody?
What do you think of Denny McCarthy?
Putting the machine, right? He's actually really good on bent grass greens too.
Yeah, and I think his ball striking's been a bit better. He still sucks off the tee, but I think his approach game's been all right. If he hits it on the green, he's got a chance. I think he made his last cut like on the number, and then actually did pretty well on the weekend. But I think he's going to be a guy. If you're really popular up top, you want to get different down the bottom. I think he's all right because he can make birdies when he's hot. It's just he hasn't been a lot hot lately. So
yeah, I feel you. So dropping down to that lower 6K range now. This is where it's going to get ugly even worse. But are we on the Vincent Whaley train? Yes or no? Are we taking him at 6'8"?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know he was on that hot run for a while and he was making the cut consistently. But he's slowed down a little bit. I just, I'm looking for guys in this range that I think can contend. And I know that's obviously a long shot with some of these guys, but none of his finishes are in the top 25 or top 20 even. So probably not for me this week. How about you, Ricky?
Yeah, probably the only guy in the upper 6K range I'll probably get to is Adam Schenk. He's just consistent as hell. If he doesn't make the cut, I'm surprised. If he does make the cut, he probably doesn't get like that T20, but he might get like that T30, T40. And at his price range, that'll pay off. So upper 6K range probably looking pretty ugly for me. Might sprinkle in maybe one Vincent Whaley just to have him in case, but not too high on him.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm looking at right now Cameron Champ.
No.
What has been the
Don't look
downfall?
at it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just want to hear me out. I know the downfall is there, but is this a bounce back spot for him in this field? Yes or no?
No.
I thought the same thing last week. I considered him. I ended up not playing him. I played him in Showdown in round 2, I think, and he was god awful. So.
Yeah, his game's in shambles right now, and this is not the course to do it because driving accuracy is so important. He has about 0 of it, so no champ, no way.
He's honestly at the point where I'm almost worried that something's wrong upstairs or.
Exactly. That's what I'm wondering is. That's what I wanted to talk about for a minute is the downfall, like what has happened to him. Because if we look at the stats, I mean, he was there hitting almost like top 30s in the Masters and the Velo or Texas Open. So what has happened, I don't really know. But a guy that I do like at 6'8", who's my sleeper for the week, is Andrew Landry. I love him here. His putter is there for him. If we look back in 2019, his putter, he was amazing with the putter at this field. So I think the recent form's there. Dispatch, don't worry about the last week, but I think other than that, 6'8", he's going to be a flyer that's going to go unowned. So he's kind of my sleeper guy that I'm really liking, who's a good pivot from Adam Schenk, because I know everybody loves Adam Schenk here, obviously, for a good reason. But Andrew Landry, I know it's not a good name value, so I'm taking a value with him.
I told you guys I'm not a big fan of the 6K range. This field is really weak, which means the 6K range is going to be even weaker compared to normal. There are some names that I've kind of written down that I've heard about. I need to do some more research on them. Roger Sloan is one. He's made 12 of 20 cuts this year. You're looking for guys to make cut here. Adam Schenk, like you said, I have heard about Andrew Landry a little bit. I need to do some more research on him. Cameron Percy is another one. He's just kind of accurate off the tee. I don't expect anything great from him, but like I said, I'm more looking at the 8 and 7K range this week. Not a whole lot. I'll have some options down there if I need it, but I won't have much exposure to any of these guys. I don't want them to ruin any of my lineups. So anyone else, Ricky, that you'd like to throw out there?
Yeah, I mentioned 2 names before we started here as my deep dive. Kind of don't play a lot of them, but they could pop. Adam Long, he's good accurate off the tee. He's known as a popper. He will literally either be last place in the field or be like T20 on Sunday. So he's a guy that if you're playing a 20 max, and you want to sprinkle in a couple of them values just so you can get maybe like a Berger Streelman lineup, something like that. Don't mind sprinkling him in at all. And then Chris Baker, the birdie maker. He was my value last week. Paid off really well. I also had a lot of Tane Lee, and I really wish I had them all on Chris Baker because Chris Baker actually finished like T35. His nickname is the birdie maker, so this should be a good spot for him. Decently accurate off the tee, really good around the greens, so even if he misses a fairway, he'll get up and down for par. I don't mind him as a deep dive, but again, don't go too heavy on him because this field sucks. So.
Yep.
Exactly. So kind of wrapping this up, obviously this is going to be an interesting field. Ownership is going to be there. You're really going to have to take strategies like Hunter said. It's going to be different this week. You're really going to have to dig deep on who you want to fit into your lineup because you're not going to fit in all the Daniel Berger, Stillman guys. It's just impossible with the value here. But there is a couple guys that I do like. So again, who is y'all's favorite pick if y'all had to pick one?
Good question.
You had to lock in one person. I know the L word is not a very great word, but who's your lock if you had to fit in somebody?
Yeah, I probably won't lock him. I'm not going massively heavy on exposure. I learned my lesson last week with Bryson. I'm definitely. I like Russell Henley quite a bit. He's been playing really well recently. Like I said, he was second here last year. He's top 5 in strokes gains approach, and he's always been that good in that area. So he's probably going to be one of my favorite players, and he gives you a little bit of a salary discount as well. So how about you, Ricky?
Yeah, I'll probably go Streelman here. Just most consistent in terms of making cuts, fits the course well. And I just think if he's playing at his best, I think he can win the tournament. So I think that's what you need in a lock. If they're playing their best, you need them to win.
Yep. Exactly. So I would probably go with my sleeper with Andrew Landry. So if people want to use I mean, just
Oh
say
my
the
God.
putter's there,
Going
dude.
for it.
Holy shit.
You have to be different, obviously. So the putter's there. If you want to take the betting odds, go throw it out there. Hey, at least he's playing, Ricky. So that's all I have
If
to
you have
say.
$1 free bet, throw it on any win. I bet you'll win.
At least he's playing. That's all that matters. We're not going
Cody.
to play EB3 like you are. So it's fine.
Hey, my defense, when I thought Wolf withdrew, he sucked that week. So if you went with my mentality there, it was actually helpful. So
Exactly.
there's
I mean,
that's the kind of advice listeners are looking for right there.
Exactly. Make sure that they are playing. But that wraps up the John Deere Classic for us. Again, this is an interesting tournament. Definitely stay tuned for updates throughout the week. We'll be in the Discord kind of hanging out, talking about this field of course. We'll know Hunter will have a player pool. I know Ricky will, and I'll have an article breaking down who I like in these ranges. So there's a lot of information there for y'all to dig into. So always hit like button for me. Definitely follow Huntman DFS and Daily Fantasy Talk Show. I'll have their links in the description below. So again, John Deere Classic, be ready for a nightmare pretty much because this is going to be an interesting tournament. So
get it.
Yeah. So that wraps us up. Again, thank y'all for tuning in. I hope everybody has a good and safe rest of their day. Have a good one, everybody.
Peace.